This is The David Lehman Show.
News Talk 97.5, the voice of Lake Chatoub. This is The David Lehman Show. I'd like to welcome you back. It's been a bit balmy out there lately. Is balmy the right word?
No. Volcanic?
This has been a rough week, Paul, and I'm going to open with, who are the 32% of Americans that believe the country is on the right track? Who are they?
You want names?
I'm willing to bet that they can all be found within the 41% of Americans who have no idea about the status of Obamacare. That's right. I said it. No, I said it. 41%, dude. 4 out of 10 people have no idea what happened. The Supreme Court and Justice John Jellyfish Roberts.
Well, let's just hope they don't vote, Dave.
Permanent economic prosperity is here. Now the government can get you by anything they want. All right. I need to calm down. I need a little bit of levity. So we are moving right now to dreadlines, not headlines, because the dreadlines make me giggle, and for no other reason than that. Out of the gate, Seattle, a school bus driver who was convicted of assault for groping teens and women claims an excessive intake of blank drove him to the axe.
Bath salts?
That's a very good guess in these days. No, more preposterous than that, caffeine.
Oh, yes.
He drove. Now, I know when I drink too much caffeine, the first thing I like to do is squeeze the buttocks of 13-year-old women. What is wrong with this guy? Ken left me with nightmares that would leave me sleepless for nights, afraid to fall asleep. I've had dreams of him hurting me and my family in violent ways over and over again. What do you think, just as a percentage, the likelihood that there is even a modicum of truth in that statement?
This is the victim you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you think she went to sleep for nights and nights dreaming that he was coming to hurt them? He patted her. Now, it's wrong, and they should throw the book at him, I agree. But do you really think that that's what happened? You really think she's up at night, worrying, sweating?
I would be skeptical, and
well, that's a first.
Okay, there, touche, Dave.
Okay, I know. Dreadline number 2, which you surely don't want to step in, Riley. This was from the Onion. It says the new Prius helps the environment by killing its owner. Today's new Prius, Toyota's new Prius, reduces its driver carbon footprint to absolute zero by impaling them through the lungs with spikes as soon as they turn over that ignition. Boom! Out come the spikes, they kill them. Carbon footprint down to zero. I can't see how that'd really be good for sales, but it's good for the planet.
That's right.
And that's all that matters.
That's true.
And finally, from Business News Daily, Ned Smith writes an article in which he queries, is small business recovery in sight? That'd be a big N-O, Ed. Have you not been watching the news, sir?
Yes, all he needs to do is tune in a little bit to know that is not happening anytime soon.
Anytime soon is right, and I needed that little levity. Thank you, Paul. Over there I can see you've got this little spin doctor look in your eye today about what you're going to do about Judge Jellyfish Roberts. Now, I know you've been thinking about this. You're no more excited about the healthcare snafu than I am. But I'm sure you've got a different perspective. Mine certainly does tend to lean on the cynical side. I don't see much hope, but you have rose-colored glasses on. So what say ye?
Well, I might surprise you, Dave, but yeah, I'm extremely, extremely disappointed. This definitely takes my optimism down a number of notches. I think in the best-case scenario, he was trying to...
Judge Roberts.
Judge Roberts is trying to say that people need to understand the consequences of their votes. We have to make some hard choices either way.
I believe, and I agree with you, that certainly that is a factor in what it was he wanted to do, but is that his job? Or is his job to rule on the constitutionality of garbage that comes across his desk, which is clearly unconstitutional?
Absolutely. And for him to make this very slim, narrow ruling on just that part of it, the fact that now politicians basically have license to tax anything they want,
anything that moves,
and lie to
breathes,
us, to our face, and that 40% don't even realize they've been lied to.
This is WJUL. If you're just joining us, it's the David Lehman Show on 97.5 or WJULradio.com. And Paul and I are now, I thought this was going to be more of a boxing match. I was going to maybe throw a kick in the studio or something, but I'm surprised to hear you. I really thought you would be coming out trying to say, well, this is really good for Captain Underoos. This is great for Captain Underoos. And while it may be very good for Mitt, it really sucks for you. It sucks for me.
No, I mean, I don't. At first, I wanted to find the silver lining, like a lot of the pundits on the right out there were looking for. And after having it set in here for a while, it really is, very difficult to see how we eliminate this entirely. The only thing is I'm hoping that the governors have the guts not to take on the Medicare plans that they have. That could be one sure way to at least slow it down.
I agree. Now, first, the Supremes found that the individual mandate, which requires you to purchase products from a private for-profit corporation, is legal simply because it's a tax. Now, this means that for the first time in history, it has been declared constitutional for the government to force you to pay taxes directly to a private corporation of their choosing, i.e., whoever makes gloves for the hospital, whoever makes bedpans, whatever, wherever they decide, whoever's going to be the benefactor, the corporate benefactor of the new law. Now, how does this not enrage people who call themselves liberal? I can't fathom it.
Yeah, they're thrilled because it's always been their, goal to have a single-payer health system.
Which, started with Hillary Care, right?
Right, but they got smart. And
What?
They got smart and did not pursue it after, the midterms of Clinton's, first term. He took a tack back to the right, did the ending welfare as we know it, and, was reelected. The only thing I can say is that this can't begin to be fixed until January of next year when hopefully Mittens is inaugurated.
And even if he is, to me he's just Obama light. He set up a very similar healthcare system in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. Very similar. It's kind of hard to come out and say, "Oh, I don't like national socialized healthcare, but it's okay for state socialized healthcare."
No, I mean, that's definitely a tricky thing for him because he's even, on cameras back then saying it wasn't a tax, it was a penalty, just like what Barack's doing right now. And, that definitely, he was not my ideal choice. But I tell you,
who was your
you
ideal?
will have to hold a gun. You can fire guns at me, and I'm going to be bringing a carload of people to come vote for the first time in my life.
I love you. I wouldn't fire any guns at you.
No, it's serious as a heart attack.
You're darn tootin'. The Supreme Court has just opened up a new and virtually unlimited way in which the government can make any action or any inaction prohibitively difficult and expensive for anyone to undertake. And if you don't think this power is going to be used in ways you won't like, you're a damn fool. I'm not saying you're a damn fool. It's you in general.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. And for all of those who are acting, if this is the final nail in the coffin of liberty, get real. That thing's been sealed shut for ages. And
Dave, just take a deep breath.
I'm trying, Paul.
Calm blue ocean. Try to get your chakras back in line, if you would, please.
I need to get to my special place. I
Yes.
think that's really where.
But that's for after show.
After the show, the
After
special
the show,
place.
yeah, you go to your special place.
We have a 2-minute break. It's going to be fast and furious. Hang tight. We'll be right back. WJUL Radio.
News Talk 97.5 FM and AM 1230 calls itself the voice of Lake Chatoon. And every day we continue to make it more than just a slogan.
There's no question. You guys are talking about what needs to be talked about around here.
The other stations don't even have local shows. I want to hear what's going on in our government and our local schools.
Your newscaster is so much more local and interesting.
But it's more than just an entertaining morning show and a hustling news department. It's about getting out in the community.
I appreciate that WJUL is everywhere I go. You're the only station that I ever see at any events.
You're the station there in the Little League All-Star games on the weekends. What a great idea.
And I love listening to the Braves on your station.
Events big and small, issues easy and tough. There's just one station bringing it all to you.
Voice of Lake Chattooga.
The voice of Lake Chattooga.
What can I say? You guys are the voice of Lake Chattooga.
News Talk for the Lake Chattooga area, WJUL. You've heard of the Pittsburgh Steelers Steel Curtain and the 1927 New York Yankees, but they've got nothing on News Talk 97.5 FM's Dream Team. Start every day with Glenn Beck from 9 to noon, followed by the King of Talk Rush Limbaugh from noon to 3. Sean Hannity has the mic and the news of the day from 3 to 6, and then Neil Bortz rants and entertains from 6 to 9. Beck.
The next time they tell you how global warming causes all sorts of massive natural disasters,
Limbaugh.
Barack Obama is destroying the United States economy.
Hannity.
Georgia Democrats are also scattering as Obama lands in Georgia.
And Bortz.
They actually thought that the mayor of Atlanta, the ever-corrupt Bill Campbell, they actually thought that I was going to snap his neck.
Try finding another station with that kind of talent. You can't. They're only on the voice of Lake Chattooga, News Talk 97.5 and AM 1230 WJUL.
Now let's all get drunk and play ping pong.
There were nights when I was lost, even nights when I went nuts.
News Talk 97.5. This is the David Lehman Show. Glad you could tune in. When we left for our break a moment ago, I was kind of excoriating folks out there that if they thought that the Judge Roberts decision, Judge Jellyfish John Roberts, if they thought that decision was the nail in the coffin, it really isn't. They're just getting a little more brazen about violating our rights and obviously caring less and less. But from my point of view, I think we lost the right to self-determination during the Civil War. We lost our sovereignty over monetary policy with the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913, and then again with Dick Nixon when he moved us off the gold standard, which was, 64, 65. We gave up liberty for ersatz security with the Raw Deal, the New Deal, had our freedom of association taken away with the Civil Rights Act, lost our land ownership with Kelo versus the Connecticut, and that's the one that sticks in my craw. More than any, I never even knew I had a craw.
Yeah, it's the tax revenue argument. They sold it to another individual who could do a commercial venture there because it would generate more tax revenues.
Right, and they didn't waste any time. I mean, the day that ruling came down, there was a seafood company that had operated for 50 years on a nice part in southern Texas there. And they moved in, like the very next day, saying, yes, we're shutting you down. Yes, we know this is your livelihood. Very sorry. Middle finger. See ya.
Yeah.
That Kelo, you have no right to your property in this country if somebody, namely the government, can come along and think they can make more money on it. A property right is the foundation, literally the foundation of our country and the Constitution. Where do they get off?
Yeah, the scary part is that it's now becoming where the election of Supreme Court justices to lifetime appointments by presidents is so critical, and the scary part is that the liberals seem to do a much better job of appointing these judges that stay liberal, and Republicans tend to have the hardest time picking a Supreme Court justice that doesn't switch sides.
Agreed. Well, you remember Jumpin' Jim Jepfords from Vermont. I think if a congressman, a senator or a representative, if they switch parties midstream, doesn't that kind of invalidate? They go to Congress, they were elected by people to quote-unquote represent them. And clearly there's at least a slight difference between Republicans and Democrats these days. So if Republicans got together on Election Day and sent forth a representative who was a Republican, doesn't he have almost like a fiduciary responsibility to act like a Republican and not simply because the tide is swinging left, switch parties and then start voting that way? I mean, is that not just outrageous?
I'm only against it when it's the way it hurts me. Otherwise I'm all for it. You can switch sides all you want. But you're right. But and again, that's what Robert's trying to say, is that the only remedy to things like that is the ballot box, and the next time that person comes up for election, in a perfect system, they would be out of a job.
Well, I wish Roberts would have said, I'm resigning, because clearly there's some really nasty photos out that they turned the screw. They got to him They got to him.
Yeah, they did. And, and I think the leak probably came from somebody like Scalia or Clarence Thomas, the fact that they reported it.
They were quite angry at him.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
I'm going to have to judge, the next, dozen years of his rulings to see if I'll give him any redemption.
You believe we've got 12 years left? At this rate?
The world will not implode in the next 12 years.
The country might.
Look, I'm thinking that, again, I think we've talked about this before, Dave. We're watching it on the news. Greece, Italy, Portugal, all those will tell the tale. And I really think that the country is going to be forced, even those 41%.
You think people are going to learn from history when history says people don't learn from history? No, I think that, people are seeing that this socialist utopia is unattainable. We're just the last country to figure this out. And the problem is because we were lied to. What?
We were bamboozled.
Don't tell me that.
Judge Roberts we didn't land on Judge Roberts. He landed on us.
You don't tell Judge Roberts what to do. Judge Roberts tells you what to do.
Well, I can't let Barack choose any. If Ruth Bader gets tired and wants to retire, I cannot fathom having Barack and President Obama in there making the decision on her replacement. God forbid.
Everyone talks about how important the Supreme Court elections are by the different presidents, but as it turns out, it doesn't really seem to matter. Conservative court, progressive liberal court, we keep getting dealt open-faced poopy sandwiches. Either way. And I almost forgot. We've already spent the next 4 generations' lifetime earnings to pay for illegal immigration and shooting Arabs. When does that end? When do we stop bankrupting our children's future? You have kids. This has got to scare you much more. And I used to think that you were kind of unflappable. I'm like, I would talk to you. You don't get too upset about a lot of stuff. You don't raise you're almost like the voice of reason, and I'm the crazy Tasmanian devil bouncing off cactuses. Okay, but I'm starting to think you might be a little dissociated, separate, like you're watching it from the third eye, Angelo, like you're watching it from afar. For a guy with the name Riley, you don't get too riled.
Yes, I choose my tantrums very specifically. Yeah. But well, if you're talking about the military, right now in comparison to all the welfare and Social Security and all that, it's a drop in the bucket. And it's in the Constitution that's what government is for: building roads and protect, armies.
Right.
And
right.
I'm all for it. And we need to stay ahead of everything. We need to have the best jets, the best submarines, the best ships, everything, the best cyber geeks.
I'm going to say this: liberty is dead, and only the blood of patriots will bring her back. Keep the masses calm. Slowly take their rights of expression and expectation. Just take them away. Then when the masses are no longer a threat because you become impervious to attack, like the government is more or less now, the coup is de facto and bloodless.
Well, I guess that's the old theory of the boiling frog. You put them in cold water and you slowly turn up the heat. Before they can learn to jump out, it's too late. I understand your fear of that happening, and
happened
after
it's already done. The deal is done.
It's baked in the cake.
Yes, sir. Fast as you can. We have lost. I think the upshot, though, to get serious again now that I've calmed down. Thank you for calming me down.
No problem, Dave. That's what I'm here for.
Feel much better. We have lost the right to be left alone, and we've lost that right.
Okay.
Fueled by the administration's substance abuse addiction. You know what their substances are? There's 2 new elements on the periodic table now: hopium and changium. Both apparently lethal, and we're feeling the effects of it. Now, Pat Buchanan had an interesting perspective on John Roberts, and he basically paraphrased John Roberts, saying, Roberts is saying that if Congress, to stimulate the economy, orders every middle-class American to buy a new car or face a $5,000 fine, such a mandate is now within the Fed's power.
Yeah, I'm thinking, compared to before this decision, I have to be more in agreement with you, Dave. I mean, I cannot, the reality is what it is, and this one really threw me for a loop. And
yeah, I know.
I want to believe that after November, that there's going to be proof that the people that get brought in when they take over the Senate, they retain the House, and we have a Republican president, they are on short notice. I think there will be a very short time that they have to prove themselves, and there's going to be no room.
Paul, if I may just interrupt you for one moment here. I hear what you're saying about that, but what about the Tea Party? Wasn't the same sort of ammunition leveled against them? They're on short notice. This is why we got the Tea Party to move in.
Well, they've been proving that they are backing candidates that are brave, that are willing to stand on those principles.
Excuse me, who's they?
The Tea Party en masse electing or supporting candidates that hold their views, and they are winning. They are making a difference, and those people are sticking by their guns.
Attaboy. Okay, just wanted to know that.
They got to be just like liberals. This is your medicine. You're going to take it amongst all the howling, all the news reports of children,
all the kvetching that's going to go on,
all the grandmothers going over cliffs in their wheelchairs, and all of the kids that are getting, poisoned by water that's unclean because of evil companies.
And the Republicans want to feed elderly people dog food. Too.
Yes, well, that's the next way to keep our big dog food in business.
Isn't it just beyond comprehension that Roberts has said that Congress has that power, that they can make you buy or not buy anything? To me, this is almost it. In the bigger picture, this looks like a brilliant tax scheme because clearly the Chief Justice was searching for a way not to declare the individual mandate unconstitutional, but in order to do so, he had to go through the tortured reasoning of redefining as a tax what its author-in-chief advocates have repeatedly said is not a tax. So now we hear this. When the imperative to buy insurance is instead presented as a choice between two options, more people will likely choose the cheaper option. For almost everyone will be paying the tax rather than buying the coverage. Taxation, cha-ching.
Yeah, that's the dangerous part because the penalty starts out very low and makes it, that much more difficult, for people to decide to do the right thing and pay for their own insurance. They're going to pay the fine, but then slowly that ratchets up.
Right.
And, of course, they planned it brilliantly. I mean, they had it set up to where all the benefits start first and all the fees and penalties start after the election, a couple years down the road, and that's when people realize things are going to be going down the tubes.
I think people are kind of realizing that before this couple years is up.
The smart people are.
Well, the smart or the people in tune.
That's right.
But we were supposed to discuss the Constitution today, Paul, but we kind of sort of let that go.
Well, pressing matters as they are.
They are. This is the David Lehman Show on WJUL. Thank you for tuning in. We shall see you next week.